everybody. I'm Michael Munson with Forge. You are here for What's the Feeling? Slowing Down and Settling Emotions. Just a quick hello again. I am Michael Munson. I'm Forge's executive director and have been around for the 30 years that Forge has been in existence and doing advocacy and other forms of work within the trans community and the anti-violence community for even longer than that. Just a quick recap for folks about Forge. I know many of you were here last time. We are a 30-year-old trans anti-violence organization that's national in scope, and we predominantly provide training and technical assistance to victim service providers and other allied professionals. And then we do things like this, which are directly for community and anybody else who wants and needs to be in spaces like this. I want to encourage folks to take care of yourselves tonight. Take care of yourselves always if you can, and that can look different for different people. So we're going to have an interactive experience tonight. It's only an hour, but sometimes an hour feels really long. We are recording, so you can always come back and listen later if you'd like to revisit and take a break now at any point in time. And we trust that you will do what you need to do for yourself, for your soul, for your spirit. For what's right for you. We will have some opportunities to participate. You can lean in or not lean into those opportunities and do what's right for you there as well. So we're really, really glad that you are here with us tonight. And we welcome all of you into this space, which means your experiences, your knowledge, your identities, your curiosity, your playfulness. We're going to have a little bit of play tonight. Hopefully all of us can enjoy the fun of the play. We also invite your questions and your whatever comes forward for you. And part of this emotional series on emotions, is really about helping us bring our bodies and our minds and our spirits into bring them forward a little bit. And so we encourage you, if you feel able to bring your whole self into this space, to do so, or to do so whenever and wherever feels comfortable and right for you. So in our hour tonight, we are going to do a couple of things. One is we're just going to kind of talk about, hey, what is this whole slowing down thing? What do we mean by that? What do we do with our emotions when things are a little bit ramped up and we want to chill out a little bit? We're going to talk a little bit about breath and breathing, hugs, voices, choices, lots of things that we can do with some really simple techniques, many of which you might have heard before, some of which you might not have heard before. We're going to talk about a go bag, so not the hurricane go bag, but some other kinds of go bags that might be really helpful for some folks. We're going to have a bit of time that we're going to create a playlist together, a music playlist together. And then we're going to wrap up and talk a little bit about what is happening next week. So one of the ways that I'm going to ask for your participation, if you'd like to participate, is through Poll Everywhere. We used it last time. It'll allow us to engage in kind of some brainstorming where all of us can see it, and it will get captured for the recording as well. So y'all are probably smarter than I am about doing the QR code and all of that stuff, but Caleb's going to post things in the chat so that it's easy for folks to access and click on as well. All right, so we're here tonight to talk about slowing down, and that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I think that emotions are sometimes these fun and funny ways that we sometimes get rolling really, really fast with them, and sometimes we get really stuck in them. So tonight we're going to kind of be focusing on when our emotions get rolling really quickly or really intensely, and we might want to do something different with our emotions or our feelings that are going with those emotions. So we might want to feel something different. We might want to be in a different state in our bodies. We might want to be thinking about different things or doing different things. So we're going to talk about some of the ways that we can kind of ratchet down, modulate what we're feeling into a place that feels more comfortable for us, more safe for us, maybe more safe for the people or things that are around us. But generally just kind of talking about how we move it from a this place to a this place, whatever the this to this is for you in whatever moment in time that you'd like to ratchet down or slow down or settle down. So, kind of a reminder from last week that when we talk about emotions, we're talking about feelings, and that goes with sensations, that goes with what's in our head or what's in our thoughts. A lot of times that goes with some urges or some feelings that we want to take some action, and sometimes it goes with our actions. So, sometimes we have those feelings, and it can very quickly move to a place of us wanting to take action, or even taking action that's kind of that almost feels involuntary. So part of what we're going to do tonight is kind of to try to identify ways of being more intentional in that point from feeling to action, and helping be in control about what's going on, or at least help us be more grounded and present, so we can make conscious choices before we take some actions. So we're going to start with kind of what do you think about what does it mean to slow down? So Caleb's going to pop in the chat, which I think he's already done. What can you do to slow down? So it might be you personally, or what can a person do if you're feeling in a high emotional state, a fast emotional state, and you want to bring things down a little bit. And if you can't access the poll everywhere, the chat works just as well if you'd like to add there. So again, what are some things that help you or help people in general to slow down? Taking a deep breath. Yep. Breathing slowly. Walking. Diaphragmatic breathing. Deep breathing, writing, texting a friend, music, stepping outside, creating art. A hot or a cold shower, yeah. Stepping away, right? Fidgets. Five things I see. We can talk about some of that too. Yeah. Listening to music, right? Four things I hear. So we can use our senses to identify things that help us change what we're paying attention to. Watercoloring. Three things I feel. Yeah. Movement. Uh, uh, Patting or petting pets. Yes. Yeah. What are some other things that help people slow down, shift gears in that slower way? Co-regulation with pets. Yes, co-regulation is an amazing thing that we can explore a little bit. But yeah, co-regulation with pets. Yay. Burning incense. Yeah, those are perfect examples. I'm seeing burning incense or burning candles. Co-regulation with people that you trust. Yeah. We can co-regulate with a lot of different things. So it's kind of becoming in sync with someone or something else to help kind of move to a kind of a peer state with them, which is really, really an interesting thing to do. Somebody's running stretching or yoga. A couple of other thoughts that people are having for like how you or how a person can slow down a little bit. What I'm seeing come in are really about a lot of our senses, accessing the different senses that we have, and doing things to kind of draw our attention to those senses, or to other things outside of us, or drawing our attention inside to what's inside of us. So I'm seeing cuddling with a partner, if a person has one, or changing into comfy clothes. Exactly. Those are perfect. Doing a body scan, checking in with our body and finding out what's going on. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for sharing. Those are really amazing things for all of us to be thinking about as we move forward. So at the very beginning, a lot of you talked about breathing. And I want to say right up front that that's something that works really, really well for some people. And it's something that works really, really not well for other people. So I wanted to put out there right at the beginning that we are not going to do any breathing exercises tonight. If you have any anxiety about things about breathing and breath work, we are not going to do anything about it tonight. And I wanted to share just a little bit about why some people may not feel comfortable with it. So for the folks that breathing is beneficial for, I mean, hopefully we're all breathing right now, but conscious, intentional breathing, that's really great. If it works for you, that's really, really great. But for some of us, it doesn't work so well. For some of us who have trauma, it doesn't work so well. So one of the things that happens a lot is that people who are in a heightened emotional state, somebody next to them will say, "Well, just breathe," and that will actually rank, move up their anxiety, move up those emotions to feeling even more intense than they had been before. So, I'd like us to kind of think a little bit about how we use breath for ourselves, and if that is something that we want to say to somebody else, if that might cause increased anxiety or increased heart rate, increased feelings that may not be very helpful for folks. There's a lot of things that we can talk about with why that happens for some people. Um, a couple of just drops in the bucket of this is that for people that have experienced trauma, one of the things that happens with trauma is that our breathing changes. We get more ready to engage in those fight or flee kind of activities, and our breathing changes and it becomes faster, not always deeper, but we're primed to do something. So if we pay more attention to our breath consciously, sometimes our brains get tapped into that more involuntary form of breathing that we experienced when we were feeling threatened or at risk of harm. So that's just one of the reasons. Some of the other ones are just a lot of people have a hard time relaxing. And so breathing is really connected with our muscles and how we are in our body in a relaxed or in a tense state. Some of us kind of operate on a tense muscle, non-deep breathing state, and that feels normal and natural. So if we're asked to breathe more deeply, that feels unusual. It's not our normal state. So that causes anxiety. It causes tension. We could talk about this a lot, but I just wanted to really affirm to folks that if you are one of those people that feels more anxious when somebody is talking about breathing and breath work, you're not alone. It's totally normal to feel that way, and you don't have to go there if you don't want to go there. Before this session, I was talking to one of our board members and somebody who does a lot of breath work and a lot of yoga work. And she runs the Breathe Network. And she shared with me this quote. And what we were talking about was this very concept of when breathing or talking about it raises anxiety. She shared with me this quote. The quote says, "Notice which part of your breath feels most like medicine." So I just wanted to leave people with that. If you want to think about breathing, and if that question rings true for you, that might be some way to tap into breathing or breath or how breath can be useful in your life, in your body, and in your soul. We're going to talk a little tiny bit again about brains, trauma, neurotransmitters, things that I think are really fun, but we're going to do so in a kind of a non-scientific way again, but just a couple of reminders that will help us kind of frame things a little bit. So again, all of our feelings and all of our brain things work from a stimulus to a response. Something comes into us, we see or hear or touch or feel or experience something, and we have a response to it. And with just about every one of those responses comes neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are those little chemicals in our brains that do wonderful, miraculous things. They can rev us up, they can slow us down, they can change our moods, they can do lots of different things. There are hundreds of different kinds of neurotransmitters, and they all have a really good purpose. And most of us have neurology that works really, really well, which means that those neurotransmitters go from one nerve into a space, the synapse, and get picked up by another nerve. It's a really simple, really quick process for a lot of people. And they do their job of helping us get moving if we need to move, helping us slow down when we need to slow down, help keeping our brains in a not so depressed state if that's possible for some of us. They do their job really well. Sometimes neurotransmitters get stuck some places, so they're moving from one place to another place, and the goal is that they get reabsorbed. It's a reuptake process from one nerve to the other nerve, and that's what's ideally supposed to happen. Things are supposed to go in the middle, and then they go on their way. For some people, and again, it depends on what kind of neurotransmitters we're talking about. For some people, those neurotransmitters get stuck in the synapse. So this can be with neurotransmitters that are around things like adrenaline, which most of us are kind of familiar with and we kind of know what adrenaline is, and it kind of makes us feel really energized or activated or really jittery. Again, really good purpose. Sometimes that adrenaline gets stuck there, and so we stay in that feeling of kind of agitation. Um, we can look at things like dopamine or some of the other neurotransmitters that help us feel depressed or not so depressed. Sometimes things stay stuck in that synapse, which then changes how we are experiencing depression or not depression in our lives. So that's a really quick neuroscience, and it was really kind of a bad description of it. But basically, we've got sets of nerves, we've got neurotransmitters that do things like help us get activated, help us slow down. They serve a purpose for soothing or raising up our energy in different sorts of way. Sometimes it doesn't work well, that little synaptic pathway does not transmit in the ways that we would ideally want it to. There's some things that we can do about that, and we're going to talk about some of that. So just to kind of give you a really, really simple idea of like what some of the neurotransmitters are, adrenaline is one of them that most of us kind of know about or think about. There's noradrenaline, there's dopamine, there's serotonin. There's a lot of things that if people know of somebody that's on kind of traditional psych meds like Prozac or some of the other more newer drugs, they're going to affect those levels of neurotransmitters and how that reuptake happens in our bodies. So neurotransmitters move really, really quickly. They go into that synapse really quickly, like milliseconds quickly, and they can also leave really quickly too. That's usually what happens. So if we get startled by something, adrenaline's going to go in from one nerve into the synapse really, 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 really quickly, and we're going to feel it really, really quickly. So we're going to go from a state where we might not be feeling energized, charged, afraid, happy, whatever it is that we're feeling, we can go from kind of all nothing to all or all to nothing. So a lot of times when we're in those places, we're like, oh my God, I just need to chill out. I need to stop what is going on here. So that's really what we're talking about today is how to move from that place where our bodies are responding in a certain way and our emotions get really, really ramped up. And how do we figure out how to just let them settle down? How do we help our neurotransmitters kind of move on their way and fill up that synapse with other kinds of neurotransmitters that are a little bit more calming? Okay, so I told you we'd have a little bit of fun. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to talk about cartoons and negative self-talk, and then we're going to talk about butterflies and butterfly hugs. So the fun part first. All of us, I think all of us, almost all of us have negative self-talk at some point in our heads. We think that we're not good at something. We think that we're not attractive. We think that nobody will love us. We think that we're screwed up. We think a lot of things in our head. And, I hope that most of us don't think a lot of those things most of the time, but some of us have those scripts that are going on in our head a lot. Um, and sometimes we would really like them to just stop saying those things to us so that we could feel a little bit differently. One of the techniques that I learned a really long time ago was to take some of those negative self-talk pieces that really keep us ramped up and keep us in a really not so great emotional state, and to change it by adding a cartoon character to it. So let me give you a couple of examples. So these are what's on the screen are a couple of examples. Let's just kind of imagine in our head. If you can think about what Mickey Mouse sounds like. I do not do voices. Nobody on our staff really does voices, not really. But think about Mickey Mouse and think about what would happen if Mickey Mouse said, I can't even heel right. Would that sound and feel different to you than if you're saying it in your own head and your own ear? It probably would sound a lot different if a cartoon character was saying it in their normal voice. Same with somebody like Elmo. So like, I'm so ugly. If Elmo said that, it would sound really different than what most of us, if we were saying that to ourselves, sounded like. Doesn't have to be a cartoon character. It could be something like John Wayne, who some of us don't even know who that is if we're of a younger age. But it could be some iconic celebrity or any kind of character that is not us, and have them say the things that we are thinking in our head. So if John Wayne says, I can't do anything right, that would sound really different than when we said it. Two more quick examples of this is like if Bugs Bunny said, "No one will ever love me." Again, it's going to really sound different coming from Bugs Bunny. If Homer Simpson said, "What's the point? I'm going to screw up anyway." Now that might be true for Homer, so that might sound normal for Homer, but if we put our words into Homer's voice, it feels really different. It's going to shift the way we're feeling about those words almost all the time. Not all the time, but almost all the time. So I reached out to a couple people to see if they would be willing to do some voice acting. And this young person is a kid of a colleague of mine, and he does a lot of voices. So I'm going to share with you his voicing of Elmo and a couple of those phrases that I just shared with you. And then we're going to play someone else's voice. And you can kind of see like how they're both really playful with this. And I know for Lawrence, this first one that I'm going to play for you, as they were recording things, they kept on elaborating and kind of embellishing, and it got more and more involved. So it started out with this negative self-talk, one little phrase, and it blossomed in some of what they recorded for us. So, I encourage you to think about like how might that happen for you if you start with your one negative self-talk and you do it in a character, and what if you play with that character? What if it gets transformed in some ways? Let me play you this first one.
Elmo. Ha ha ha! It's me, Elmo. I'm horrible at this. No one will ever love me. I should have known better. I always mess things up. What's the point? I'm going to screw up anyway. I am so ugly. The ugly, little red guy. People like Big Bird more than me. People like Cookie Monster more than me. I can't even heal right.
I see people saying it was really hard to hear. Elmo was speaking in the first person and saying some of those lines about not good enough, can't even heal right. Let me play the next audio for you, and hopefully that will be a little bit louder and more easy to understand. I know this one was really hard to understand too because it's so high pitched that it's almost the words don't even kind of sound like words, which could be playful for some and could be just irritating for other people.
Elmo.
Oops, sorry. So this is second. And one of the people on our staff decided that they were motivated or intrigued or something about that first recording and recorded something else in Elmo's typical voice, which is not in first person. Let me see how this goes. Caleb, I see what you're saying, and we can see if it doesn't work.
Elmo, no good. Everyone hate Elmo. Big Bird better than Elmo.
Did the sound come through better on that one? See, better. So see where that happened of like, it was in a third person voice. So change it up a little bit. And it went from the negative self-talk to Big Bird better than Elmo. So it got playful as the in-character voice was happening. Again, this is really silly, doesn't work for everybody, but it's something that might be worth trying. So I'd like to just take a moment. So I'm going to ask you if you would like to take a moment. We'll take like 30 seconds or a minute. Think about a phrase that sometimes goes through your head, one of those negative self-talk things, something that you don't feel so great about, and think of an imaginary, think of one of the cartoon characters or an actor or somebody that has a distinctive voice, and speak it out loud if you're in a place that you can speak it out loud, or think about it in your head. So let's take like 30 seconds for you to just imagine that. So for those of you who are playing along at home, I'm wondering if you would be willing to share in the chat what character you picked, what voice you picked to put some life to those words. And this could be like I didn't do this because it was too weird or too silly. And that's totally cool too. So if anybody's willing to share, I would love to see it. I bet other people would really love to see kind of who you brought forward as a character to play out. And none is good. Give you okay, so I'm seeing Mickey and then Squidward. I don't know who that is. That's one of the things when this lovely young person, Lawrence, sent some of the voices. They were like, they said who they were, and I'm like, I do not know who these people are. So like Squidward sounds interesting. Is it a SpongeBob thing, maybe? So I'm gonna have to go look it up. Excellent. So other things that you could like pick are things like Yoda, or somebody from Star Wars or Star Trek. So it doesn't have to be a cartoon character, but anybody that has kind of a interesting voice. Okay, so I'm seeing in the chat, Jake the dog from Adventure Time, and Steven Universe. Yeah, yeah, excellent. Thank you. So I encourage folks to play with it if it's something that feels like it might be interesting to pursue. Let's move to something a little bit less playful, a little bit more serious. One of the ways that is really helpful for some people to settle, to slow down a little bit, is a technique called the butterfly hug. And it is a technique that was developed quite a few years ago, I think in the late 1990s, 1998, I believe, by Lucina Argatas. Artigas, I probably am saying her name wrong, who developed it as a technique to help folks that were survivors of the Hurricane Pauline in Acapulco, Mexico. She's an EMDR practitioner, and EMDR does a lot of things that does cross-body, cross-brain stimulation. And this is a really simple technique that can be done by anybody, pretty much by anybody, at any place. And there's a lot of ways to modify it and change it. The basic principle is that you're kind of giving yourself a hug and you're putting both hands on the opposite shoulder. Not everybody's able to reach across, so however far you can reach across, but literally just crossing your arms and kind of reaching for your shoulder so that your hands are resting on your shoulder. Very similar to the picture on the screen. And it's a really simple technique of once you're in that position that you can just very gently tap on your shoulders back and forth. So like one hand, another hand, one hand, another hand. It can be fast, it can be slow. It's generally fairly slow and it's generally very light. But if your body wants to be faster, or tapping harder, whatever it is that feels right for you, it's just a simple technique that can help shift our brain chemistry some by that bilateral stimulation, and can be kind of soothing to have your own arms around you, kind of like a hug. Sometimes we might not be in a place that we can do that, where it would, if we're at work and we don't want other people to see us, hugging ourselves, that might be a little bit awkward. There are a lot of other ways that we can do it, where we can have like our hands on our thighs and we can tap. Ideally, we'd have them crossed and tapping. There's some ways of doing like just joining your hands together and using your thumb and tapping on the other hand with your thumb, if you have the ability to do that. There's a lot of ways that we can just find ways to cross parts of our body, arms, legs, and do some tapping, gentle tapping or gentle moving. So if you can't tap, you can kind of squeeze. Lots and lots of different ways to do that. And there's a lot of really kind of discreet ways that it can be done so that it's not drawing attention to you if you need to be, again, in those places that you're in public, if you're on public transportation or at work. So it's a technique that I really encourage people to think about and explore. And again, it's one of those things that can be done in ways that are soothing to you, and it might have some of those kind of unintended consequences. Like we don't know exactly how some of it works sometimes. The EMDR people know how it works, but it's a really, really lovely way. The other way I wanted to show you too is like by grabbing your two thumbs. So if you cross your arms, you grab your two thumbs, which is probably not showing very much. You kind of hook your thumbs together, and then you place them kind of in the middle of your chest. And that allows for an easier back and forth of your hands. Again, lots of different ways to do this. Let's talk next about a go bag. So I mentioned in the beginning, go bags, I think a lot of times people think about pregnancy, people think about hurricanes, about what you need to put in the bag so that when you need to leave the house quickly, you can. The go bag that I'd like to share with you and talk about tonight is doing some emotional plan ahead, being prepared with some things in a single location, a collected location that you might need or want when you're feeling in an escalated state, when you're feeling high emotions or fast emotions. Sometimes people want to make more than one bag. It doesn't have to be a bag either, by the way. It could be a Rubbermaid bin. It can be a drawer. It can be any kind of thing that you can put stuff in. And if you don't want to put stuff in a physical box, you could do it on your phone and have a virtual go bag as well. So any container works. The process is really about planning ahead. So let me share with you some of the things that might be useful to put into it. And this is kind of drawing from a bunch of different techniques and a different bunch of different modalities of kind of what might be useful to have in a bag that's going to help folks downregulate a little bit, just settle into a different, calmer emotional state. So there's 5 general kind of categories of things that you may want to think about to put in your bag. So one could be around distracting pleasant activities. So it could be a book. It could be a playlist, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. It could be something that just takes your mind off of whatever's going on in your life. So something that's pleasant, and it's an activity. Maybe it's a Sudoku or a game of some kind. Anything that's just going to draw your attention away that feels good. The second thing is a distracting physical sensation. So that could be something like Play-Doh or an ice pack. That's going to be harder to kind of have in that one place, but it still could be there. Something like ginger chews or gum, a spinner toy or a fidget toy, something that gives you a physical sensation, something to do with your hands or parts of your body. Could be about a toy or something that feels comfortable and comforting to you. That kind of goes into number 3, which is something that's self-soothing. So that might be your favorite stuffy, or it could be a candle or incense, like a couple people mentioned before when we were brainstorming. It could be something like having your pet's brush so that you're always ready if your pet comes to you when you're distressed, that you're ready to brush with a brush. It could be anything that feels soothing to you. The 4th category is something that's encouraging. So this could be if you're somebody that likes to cut out either in print cutout or like electronically positive quotes, or if you save birthday cards that somebody sends you with positive messages on the inside. It could be anything that that feels encouraging or uplifting. And then the 5th thing for the go bag would generally be written down, but it doesn't have to be written down. It could be in electronic form as well as like on paper, is a detailed plan of what to do. Because sometimes when we're in that really high emotional state or really fast emotional state, we can't think very clearly about what we've decided ahead of time that we're going to do when we're in that state. So it could be, I'm going to call my best friend when I'm in the state. It could be then after that, I'm going to make a cup of tea. After that, I'm going to remember to take my medication. So it's literally making kind of a list of the plan of what you're going to do, generally in sequence, if that's possible. So it's your cue of what you need to do next that's going to help continue moving you in the direction that you would like to be in for your emotional state. So I would love for us to spend around 5 minutes, maybe a little bit less. And if you have paper and pencil, great. If you have want to do it in your brain, that's great too. But think about what you would put in those 5 categories, where you'd put it in your house, however you'd want to think through this. So what do you want to hold it in? Where do you want to hold it? Do you want to have more than one? And then what kinds of things would go in each of those categories? So let's take 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll come back together and can share out a little bit. Hey, if we can, if you'd like to draw your attention back into the shared space together, I would love to hear what people came up with in terms of where you might want to have a bag, a carton of whatever it is that you want to house your bag of stuff in, as well as what might come up for you, like what you'd want to put in some of those categories. I'm wondering if people would be willing or interested in sharing in the chat. What kind of a container do you think about when you think about a go bag? What do you think? A little drawstring bag, yeah. That's the first thing that comes to my mind too, is just something that you can kind of cinch up, which feels it almost feels kind of like a little hug to me, like of like, oh, all my little stuff is in this little place, which is cool. Do other people have ideas of what you would kind of house these kinds of stuff things in? Sometimes it's harder to figure that out. Yeah. Small basket on a desk. Yeah. Yep. And what kinds of things would you want to put in this bag, basket, container? I'm guessing that most people had something that they thought of right away that would be like, oh, that would be something that I would want to have easily accessible when I'm feeling at a really high emotional state. Again, if you don't want to share, like I know this is, I'm asking folks to share a little bit, and that might be really vulnerable to share. So I'm seeing that rescue remedy, hand lotion, crystal, yeah. Um, Cards or notes from a loved one that are encouraging. Yeah. A crochet sack with some puzzles, a journal, small book of poems, a rock, a stress cube, a Rubik's cube I'm seeing. Oh my God, that Rubik's cube would be great, right? Of something to manipulate, tactile, as well as engaging. So for distracting, pleasant activity, person thought of a coloring book. Yeah, any kind of books I'm seeing, a pen or scented markers. Yeah, a small book of poetry, a bottle of essential oil, a weighted lap blanket, an image of a calm space. Yeah. So some people are writing down like the things that they can do to calm down and regulate on an index card. Yep. A picnic basket as the container. Excellent. Um, Somebody saying that they feel like they need a backpack. Which is really kind of cool because then you could like literally move that with you wherever you need to go. So headphones, a jacket, a beanie, coloring pages, shows on phone, a safety plan, stuffed animals, Play-Doh, pens, maybe a small ball of yarn for finger crocheting. Oh, finger crocheting is a great idea. That is a really great idea. Good smelling, something like oils. Yeah, those are fantastic ideas, everybody. Really fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. That's really, really amazing. Lots and lots of ideas, and hopefully some of those ideas caught your attention that maybe you hadn't thought about, that you may want to pursue. So, yay! Thank you. Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left. We're going to do some really quick things, and we're going to make a playlist together. So in the beginning, we talked about neurotransmitters and how they go into this space in the middle, and then they're supposed to kind of move on their way out. Most of the time it works just perfect. Sometimes they get stuck in that synapse. So instead of the milliseconds that it's supposed to take to kind of move things out, sometimes they just sit there and they make us feel not so great. If we can do something with our brains and get something else to go into that synapse, it takes about 45 to 90 seconds of not re-stimulating. So what oftentimes happens is that synapse gets filled and filled and filled with the same kind of neurotransmitters when we don't do something or we can't do something to change what the chemistry is. If we can do something that will allow different chemicals to come in, if we do it for about 45 to 90 seconds, what's in that synapse will change and we won't feel so anxious, intense feelings of what's going on. So goal can be to do something that, again, is not the same kind of flooding, not the same kind of activity that's causing those those emotions to be there, and it will chill out. So let me give you some ideas of some of the things that could be done for 90 seconds. So if you think about what can I do for 90 seconds that doesn't keep me in that emotional state that I don't want to be in. So some ideas are you could go make a cup of coffee or brew a cup of tea. That may actually take you longer than 90 seconds, but like the process of going to the kitchen and doing that, going to be 90 seconds or more. Washing the dishes or washing a dish, going to pee, maybe not 90 seconds, but it's going to be close to that. Going outside to get the mail if you have a mailbox, putting hand lotion on. Somebody mentioned hand lotion before is something that, something that they like to do. Completing a Wordle puzzle or some kind of other game on your phone or anything else, or listening to a song. Those are like some things that take about 90 seconds to do. And if you can really focus all of your attention on it, not what's going on that was causing it before, your brain will change into a different pattern and have different chemicals, and you will feel different, guaranteed. So let's do a quick brainstorm, and then we're going to do a playlist together about things, music that helps us calm down a little bit, slow down a little bit. So what are some things that you think about that you could do for 90 seconds, or anybody could do for 90 seconds that is not stimulating, agitating, things that would kind of keep those excitatory neurotransmitters going? So what are things that you could do for 90 seconds? Caleb put in the poll everywhere in there, so you can click or grab the QR code. I know we all do something for 90 seconds. TikTok. Like TikTok videos, yeah, okay. A child's pose or another soothing yoga pose. Okay, yeah, yeah. Tense and relax muscles. Mhm, mhm. Yep. What other things can you do for 90 seconds? Again, you kind of want to think about the things that are not going to kind of cause or raise your emotional level. So I'm seeing jump in place, listen to a song, step outside for a minute, brush your hair or your teeth, hug a stuffed animal, take out the trash, yeah. What other things might people have? Journal. Start a load of laundry. Yeah, tug of war with the dog. Mhm. Color on a page or draw a doodle. Yeah. These are great ideas, and these are things that can happen in that 90 seconds. And I want to encourage you as you're thinking about things, want to have things that are really engaging. Like I know for me, so this is totally for me, not for somebody else. For me, if I started to journal, I would go down that sinkhole and get more agitated. So for me, that would not be a good one. But if that works for you to get distracted away from something, perfect. And that's true for any of these things, right? It's going to be different for every one of us about what's going to draw our attention away and help us move into that different space. I love these suggestions. Thank you for making this brainstorm and doing the brainstorm with me. We're going to do a quick collective playlist of music that helps us or people in general feel a little bit slower, ramp down a little bit. And we're going to use an app called Padlet. Caleb, can you add in the chat the HTTP in front of it so people can actually click on it? And I'm going to ask Caleb to do another share screen in a second. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So it's we've got the Padlet set up so that people can enter things, their songs that you like into them. And what you're going to see when you get to it is a screen that's going to have a bunch of these different categories of music. And then like the symbol that's on the left is you're going to see this little plus icon that you can add a new kind of card underneath it and add a song. It's going to allow you to kind of fill out what it is and change the color if you want to change the color or whatever. So there's the QR code to it as well. Thanks, Caleb. And Caleb's going to share his screen and we're going to watch together as you all are entering music that you find a little bit soothing, things that kind of calm you down, ramp you down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Caleb. So feel free to get it. Grab that little plus sign. You can add a new card. You can also grab the ones that are there. And there's like 8 categories of different kinds of music. If you don't know what category it is, then stick it wherever it goes and it'll all be good. Also, if you need some tech help in getting it there, feel free to put it in the chat and one of us will put it in the Padlet and we will send this out to you. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you all figure out what music feels good to you to slow down, and then we'll look at it again in a couple minutes together. Take about another minute to continue adding. This Padlet's going to stay open so people can continue to add to it. As you think about stuff, as if you just want to look at it and go, oh, these are really kind of cool songs. Maybe I'll add them to my phone and my playlist. We'll also send them out by email so that you all have them in one place if you'd like to have a list of them. Caleb, are you able and willing to read out some of the music that people have put in?
Yeah, I can read these out. This is Caleb. So I see under rock, there's Happy by Farrell. I think that's right. And New Slang by the Shins. Then under folk, yeah, I'm hoping everybody can see all of these. We have Sound and Color by Alabama Shakes and Wider Circles by Rising Appalachia. And then we just got under instrumentals, there's one called Saturn by Sleeping at Last. It looks like the video is actually linked, which is exciting to do that. Under classical, we have the album Playing Piano for Dad by H. Hunt. Under hip hop, West Savannah by Isaiah Rashad. Under jazz, we have Colors of the Rainbow by Lonnie Liston Smith. Ambient, we have I Am Light by India Ari. And then we have quite a few under another. There's Barbara Manatee from VeggieTales. I'm in Love with You by Poolside. Fade Into You by Mazzy Star. And then Lovely Day.
Woohoo. What a great list. Any more that got added? Is there one under instrumental?
Yeah, let's see. Okay. The album Ali and Tumani by Ali Farka Tor and Tumani Diabate. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Way cool. What a great list to start. Excellent. I encourage you, if you want to come back again, add some more there, and we'll send out the list for folks if you want to add any of them to your music library. Cool. Thank you. Caleb, I'm going to reshare the screen on my end. Is that okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Thanks, Caleb, for your help. All right. So we are 2 minutes from done. I just wanted to share with you what we're going to do next week, which is kind of going to be it's not really the opposite of this week, but we're going to talk a little bit about when we are feeling kind of low and maybe in a slump, or needing to raise our energy, how we can increase our energy and get moving and get some of our woo back into our body and into our soul. So again, rather than kind of ramp it down, we're going to ramp up. And hopefully we will have some fun things that are interactive for us to do together. Let's do a one word checkout, a feeling word checkout if we can. Caleb's also putting in the chat that last week's recording will be available tomorrow, it looks like, which is really, really cool. So if folks want to listen to last week, that's great. This week's will probably be up early next week, maybe before our session next week, maybe not. And then we'll record and do that one. All right, let's do a one word feeling check-in. So again, the poll everywhere, if we can do that, or in the chat is fine as well. So what is one word that would capture what you're feeling right now? Energized, yeah, seen, lighter, hopeful, soothed. Thank you, yeah. Seen, curious, grateful, tired, explorative, yeah. Yeah, excellent. Beautiful words. Thank you. All right. We're going to wrap up. We love your feedback. We love your feedback from last time. We would love your feedback tonight. We pay attention. We listen. We care about you, and we want to do things that are good for you and of interest to you, and be in sync with you. So if you have a moment, please take the small evaluation, and I really hope that you join us next week as well. And thank you to our interpreters, our Spanish folks, and our ASL folks, and Caleb and Emil. Thank you for being on the back end tonight. So thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your evening.